Roland's getting ready to do an interview with Jill Stein. She is the presidential candidate from the Green Party. Now, I gotta tell you, I really didn't pay a lot of attention to her, but after watching this interview today, I think I'm gonna take a closer look at her, because a lot of the things that she's saying, I agree with. And on top of that, she doesn't have nearly, actually, I don't think she has really any baggage, and damn sure not nearly the baggage that Trump and Clinton have. And Gary Johnson from the Libertarian Party, as soon as I heard him talking, I mean, he talked about legalizing marijuana and a couple other dumb things. And maybe marijuana legalization is not dumb, but he said some other dumb stuff. But he really is a Republican, and he scares me because of the proclivity to want to nominate conservative judges, which are going to do nothing but hurt us. We need to move the court further to the left, especially on social issues. But anyway, here is the interview that Roland did with Jill Stein.
Presidential candidate. We're joined in the studio by Green Party presidential candidate, Dr. Jill Stein. And so she, of course, is a mother, a physician, and environmental health advocate representing the Green Party in 2012, but also this year. She holds the record for the most votes ever received by a woman candidate for president in the general election. She joins us right now. And so, Dr. Stein, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's wonderful to be here.
So I'm going to start right there on this whole issue of voting. The fact of the matter is you see massive voter suppression going on in North Carolina, where literally Republicans are trying to change the vote. They're trying to slash early voting, switch the hours. What is your stance on the issue of the Voting Rights Act in this country?
We need to restore the full Voting Rights Act. Since it was repealed, we've seen in state after state voter ID laws that are used to disenfranchise the African American vote. We've seen, closing of voting stations, a repeal of early voting, the things that make it harder for African Americans in particular to vote. And that vote is absolutely critical. In America, we have a right to vote. We need to restore the full Voting Rights Act. Absolutely.
When it comes to voting, this is what I've consistently heard from people. They say they don't like Trump, they don't like Clinton, or they say, I don't like Trump, but I like some things about Clinton, don't like others. And then when the conversation goes back and forth on social media, vote for Dr. Jill Stein, then others will say that's a wasted vote. Why voting for you? Make your argument why voting for you is not a wasted vote.
Well, I think we're at a unique moment in history right now. Our economy is stuck. We've seen jobs that have come back that are part-time, low-wage, temporary jobs, incredible racial disparities in our economy where the unemployment rate is twice as high among African Americans. Who got hit harder in the Wall Street crash? The average wealth of the African American family was slashed, was cut in half, and it was unjustly small to start with because of the cumulative burden of historic racism that has diminished and made it almost impossible for the African American community to accumulate wealth. We have an entire generation of young people who are locked into student loan debt without the ability to earn their way out of it. I'm the one candidate in this race that is not taking money from lobbyists, from big corporations, or from super PACs. So I actually have the liberty to stand up for what it is that we really need, and African Americans in particular really need as the most disenfranchised group in our society. We need an emergency jobs program that guarantees a good wage job to everyone, like the New Deal. We're calling for a Green New Deal, which will not only fix the crisis of our jobs, but will also fix the crisis of climate change. And as we saw happening down in Baton Rouge, like with Katrina, like in Superstorm Sandy, who is it that gets hit hardest, and where is it that recovery comes last? I was just down in Baton Rouge where we saw families in shelters who were there displaced from Katrina that had never been able to go back to New Orleans because of the disparities in the recovery. We have a system that's working for you if you here in the top couple percent, but for everyday Americans, it's not working. So I'm here with the liberty to stand up for what everyday people need, and especially for what the African American community needs. And that's not only jobs, it's free higher education, it's health care as a human right. We could all be insured right now for the same cost that we're paying. We could cover everyone if we just take out the profiteering and the price gouging that's taking place right now and ensure that everyone has a right to good health care. And I'll tell you one other thing. I'm the only candidate that's actually calling for reparations and for a Truth and Reconciliation Commission so we can get down to the bottom of this living historic legacy left over from the criminal institution of racism.
Hold tight 1 second. When we come back, I want to deal with the issue of education. So hold on. We're talking with Green Party presidential candidate, Dr. Jill Stein. TV1, we'll talk with Green Party presidential nominee, Dr. Jill Stein. So, Dr. Stein, let's do with education. When we talk about the education system, in many ways, we've been trying to figure this thing out for forever. And we still have segregation in our schools. One of the things that, and I'm a huge believer in school choice, African Americans, we actually polled African American parents. Upwards of 80% said they believed in charter schools and believed also in vouchers. What is your campaign's what is your campaign view on that? And also, you also have, let me say this here, the only African American running mate, Mayor Jamu Baraka, who's your vice presidential running mate. So go right ahead.
That's right. Yeah. So, you know, my feeling about it is that every child deserves an excellent education, and every child deserves a school system which is teaching to the whole student for lifetime learning, not just to a high-stakes test, which in fact is not helpful to challenged learners, to disadvantaged learners. So I really believe in enriched education. I believe we should be doing what our so-called education leaders are doing for their kids. What they're doing for their kids is sending them to well-funded schools that have small classroom size.
They have choice.
Exactly. They do have choice, and what they're looking for in particular is a well-funded school, a well-trained and well-paid teacher, and for a very small classroom size and an enriched curriculum. They are not looking at high-stakes testing. They are looking at curriculum that is filled with art and music and recreation and community engagement. In the country of Finland, which has the best education system in the world, this is exactly what they do. And it's my feeling that everybody not only needs choice, put it this way, everybody needs to have a great school to start with. Right now, we are squandering half of our discretionary budget is being spent on wars for oil and the so-called war on terror, which is not making us safer. It's actually encouraging more terror, fanning the flames of terror. That is half of our discretionary budget. It is almost half of your income taxes. In my view, we need a foreign policy based on international law and human rights, not on regime change. And we need to be putting our dollars into true security here at home, ensuring that every community has a great school. And it's not only the education, because if kids are coming to school stressed, in poverty, not well nourished, they're not going to learn. No matter what kind of a great education system you give them, it's going to be very difficult for them to learn. So we're calling for actually the elimination of poverty through our Green New Deal jobs program as a companion to an education system.
What will it take for the Green Party to be what is described as a real third major party? Because, again, I've talked to a lot of African Americans who say, I like what Dr. Stein is saying, I like what Baraka is saying, but bottom line is for them, they're saying it's either Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump.
And this is exactly what the system would like you to think, that you only have two choices. But in fact, America is very unhappy with those two choices, and in fact is clamoring for something else. The majority of Americans do not like and do not trust either Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, and for reasons that we can well understand. The American people are clamoring for something else, yet we've largely not been covered up until now by major media. Yet my campaign has been coming up in the polls to 4, 5, 6, even as high as 7% without coverage. We know that Donald Trump had a $2 billion worth of free media. Hillary Clinton had $1 billion. Bernie Sanders had $500 million. We've basically had zip, yet we're coming up because people are desperate for something else. You know, the track record of Hillary Clinton, though she may give lip service to the important things, her track record is not good for having supported the crime bill that opened the doors to mass incarceration, for having supported the dismantling of aid to families with dependent children that removed the social safety net and threw at least another 1 million children into poverty, took a half year off of the lifespan of your average woman dependent on social supports. So, not to mention supporting Wall Street deregulation that led to the massive Wall Street crash, the loss of 9 million jobs, the theft of 5 million homes, and who's gotten hit harder by all of this than the African American community? We are in a realignment election right now. The Republicans are falling apart. The Democrats are moving to the right, trying to capture the Republican vote, and we've seen in Hillary's appointment of her transition director, that he's kind of the lobbyist.
You mean John Podesta?
No, actually, I'm talking about Ken Salazar.
Gotcha, Ken Salazar, yes. Former Interior Secretary for the president.
That's right.
Last question here for you before I go. And I think I got about 60 to 90 seconds left.
Okay.
And that is, when you look at the debates,
yes,
a criteria is established. Do you believe that, and I believe the criteria you have to be polling at 15%?
That's right, yes.
Do you believe that is grossly unfair? What do you believe? First of all, should there be a threshold for a national candidate? And if so, what do you think it should be?
The threshold should be that the candidate has to be on the ballot for enough voters that they can actually win the election. So a real practical choice.
40 states, 50 states?
Well, to win at least the majority of the Electoral College vote. So it depends on which states, but it's basically a majority of voters is what it comes down to. If you're on the ballot for a majority of voters and you could potentially win the elections, voters not only have a right to vote, we have a right to know who our choices are and who we can vote for. That should be the fair standard. This Commission on Presidential Debates is basically a private corporation run by the Democratic and Republican parties. That is not fair. That's not what democracy is about. Their purpose is to silence political opposition. We're saying go to Jill2016.com and join our campaign to open the debates. Let's let a democratic discussion move forward. Let's empower voters to make their choices, not to be told, given marching orders from the higher up saying, be good little boys and girls and keep doing what we're doing, because what we're doing is not working for America, and it's certainly not working for the African American community, who's really first to get hit, hardest to get hit, and last to get a chance to recover. I'm here to be that candidate for every American, including disenfranchised Americans, African Americans, so we can stand up for the promise of democracy and the just and sustainable future that should be delivered to every American.
All right, Dr. Jill Stein, I surely appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Great talking.
And we'll chat with you again as we move forward in the campaign.
I look forward to it.
All right.
I got to tell you, I'm starting to feel her like I was feeling Bernie, and I really was feeling Bernie. And Dr. Jill Stein also appeared Sunday on the Al Sharpton show, and I'm going to do the video of his interview with her in a few minutes. But I'm telling you, I'm really thinking about Jill Stein here, and I'm going to take a phrase out of Donald Trump, and I'm going to modify it. The hell with Donald Trump. What the hell do we have to lose by giving Dr. Jill Stein a chance?